Alright, hello everyone. Welcome back to Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, the case of the mummy's curse. Last time, we started, got all the intro. We have read through all these 4 issues of the Times about the mummy, so now we have a couple names to go after. Oh yeah, I still haven't googled Tuamautef. Well, there is a god called Duamutef, which I presume is the same person, just another spelling in English, who is one of the 4 sons of Horus and a protection god of the canopic jars. Yeah, just very quickly there, first 2, sentences of Wikipedia. But yeah, so directory. I'm thinking we could go and meet Inspector Lestrade just for fun. And also see if he has any, I don't know, extra facts about anything. Always good to start with Lestrade. And go look at him in the... Here. Lestrade, Inspector. Lestrade's bulldog tenacity has brought him to the top at Scotland Yard. He's a rather unimaginative sort who's often out of his depth. Provided assistance with the taking of Sebastian Moran and the Baskerville case. This is Holmes's confidential files on people. So we'll send the detectives. Although talking with Lestrade is often tedious and the inspector is condescending, Holmes and Watson visit Scotland Yard, hoping the man has done his due diligence in this case and can offer insight.
Well, if it isn't Mr. Sherlock Holmes, London's most overly praised amateur sleuth, needing the help of the Yard again.
Are you going to stand for that, Holmes?
Let's just see who proceeds to solve this case, Watson. Inspector Lestrade, my good man, I'm looking into the cause of James Windibank's death.
I should have known. That murder has brought out every crank in the city. I think the professional police can wrap this one up.
All the same, could you tell us what you've discovered to date?
1 dead archaeologist, no suspect, no motive.
And what of Andrew Weatherby's death? Have you looked into that?
I have talked to Captain Ramsey, but we have no leads. Look, I'm not even sure that Weatherby's murder falls into our jurisdiction. And if it doesn't, you're not going to find me worrying about it. As it is, I have enough murders to take care of.
I guess I can sort of see his point. Yeah. Okay, well, they don't really know much more there. I don't know if we could go to the London Library, maybe? I don't know what happens there, actually, at all. But, might know something. London Library, located in St. James's Square. For paying members only, Lomax is the sub-librarian. A fog rolls in as Holmes and Watson take a carriage to the London Library. Watson insists they know more about mummies if they are going to solve these murders. Holmes is unconvinced but accompanies the good doctor nonetheless.
Here it is, Holmes. Egyptian mummies are embalmed bodies preserved to facilitate their resurrection. Many mummies have been found, and they are almost always the bodies of pharaohs. The pharaohs believed that one day their bodies would be brought back to life. See History of Egyptian Mummies by Pettigrew, London, 1834.
Very good, Watson.
Okay, cool. Let's see here. No, I think we should go talk to people. I don't know if we have that Earl of Downey anywhere. There's no Downey here. Earl. Nah. Can we go to London University College, whatever? Well, London University. This Institute of Higher Learning was founded in 1836 at Westminster. Among other functions, it serves as an examining board which grants degrees to candidates in the arts and sciences. I kind of want to go to places before we, talk to people. Yeah. Watson states the obvious when he recommends a trip to the Egyptology department is in order. Holmes commends the good doctor and ushers him out the door into the fading sunlight.
Such a tragedy. Fine men all, and such outstanding scholars. I still can't quite get over the shock of it.
We understand.
Professor, We're looking for background information on these three men so that we can understand how their murders might tie together.
Well, let me begin with Dr. Turnbull. Ebenezer Turnbull was responsible for organizing the Carteret expedition. Quite a remarkable man, really. This was the first time he teamed up with James Windibank. Professor Windibank was one of our most popular lecturers. In fact, several of his former students were also eager to accompany him. I recall him saying that he was having difficulty choosing. Weatherby turned out to be the lucky one. Though it seems far from it now, doesn't it? I suppose Smith and Travis turned out to be the lucky ones after all.
Smith and Travis?
Peter Smith accepted the invitation to join another expedition. As for Philip Travis, he was quite keen on accompanying Professor Windibank. In fact, he became exceedingly upset when Andrew Weatherby, a postgraduate student in the department, was chosen instead. Took it rather personally, I should say.
Very interesting. Okay, Peter Smith and especially Philip Travis seems like an interesting person in this case. He should be under T for Travis. There we go, Philip Travis. Nothing on file. Interesting. All right, we'll get to those two later. Let's start with we have some info. Let's go to Dr. Turnbull's place. He should be here. There we go. The third son of the Earl of Downey. So he's connected to the Earl of Downey. Connection. I don't know if it matters, but okay. At the age of 6, he discovered a Roman ruin on the family's country estate. He has led a number of archaeological excursions, notably several to the Luxor-Karnak area, where he has made some significant archaeological discoveries. Alright, let's send the detectives to his house and see what happens. Could send an irregular, I don't know what we'll learn, but we could try. Meh, let's do it for fun. Finally, Tipper says after Dr. Watson asks the irregular to visit the home of the murdered gentleman. With a shilling in hand, the lad runs out and disappears into the fog. Message from an irregular. Lady was nice enough. She looked about like someone was going to jump out of the bushes, she did. Okay, so apparently he has a wife there, so. Ironically, the doctor isn't feeling well, so Holmes decides to pay a visit to the home of the late Ebenezer Turnbull by himself.
Dr. Turnbull. He was a strange one, he was. Hardly ever at home, always traipsing about to Lord knows where.
May I take a look at his things?
Oh, suit yourself. All he had is a big pile of books about Egyptian mummies and a few maps. He was a son of an earl, he was. Though you hardly tell from looking at him, poor fellow. Do you really think this mummy thing's what's done him in? Creepy, I says.
Wow, her accent sounded so fake. That was hilarious. Okay, so apparently, okay, so right now it looks like that was more his landlady. Okay. So we didn't learn a lot there, I have to say, but apparently, yeah, well, I guess we learned that he was the son of an earl, but we knew that. And he has a lot of books on mummies, and yeah. She thinks it's creepy. Okay. Well, we've been there, so let's go to James Windibank. See if we have anything on him. Professor of Egyptology and Science at London University. Published a paper on the rare antiquities buried in the deserts of Arabia. Has had some difficulty with the Anti-Vivisectionist League over the past several years. No idea what Anti-Vivisectionist is, though. Is it here? Anti-Vivisectionist League? No. Okay. And yeah, you will see now that now we have lots of points here because I've been sending people to places. And again, I'm gonna be ignoring the points. I'm gonna have 1 billion trillion points at the end of this. I'm completely ignoring them. I'm more interested in gathering, like, a good body of facts. But if you want, you can play these games with, you know, yeah, challenging yourself, basically, with the points. So. Holmes wisely calls upon the irregulars to travel post-haste to discuss the recent murders with the widow of James Windibank. Caught the missus at home. She says the chap who wrote the newspaper stories about the mummy of yours was one of Windibank's old students. Chap who wrote the newspaper stories about the mummy. Chap who wrote the newspaper stories. I don't know who wrote the newspaper stories, but okay. Alright, let's send detectives. Armed with information he has discovered both in Times and Conversations reliable sources, Holmes sets out alone in hopes of revelatory conversation with Windibank's widow.
James was so thrilled when Dr. Turnbull invited him to join the expedition. He felt he had spent his entire life reading books about archaeology, and now was finally getting an opportunity to go out into the field.
Tell me, Mrs. Windibank, when your husband returned, did he discuss the deaths of his colleagues?
Of course. James was extremely upset. I know he did not believe a curse to be responsible. My husband was a man of science.
Okay, so James Windibank did not believe that the mummy had done it. He might have known something. Alright. Well, we didn't learn too much there, but cool. So we've been to Turnbull's, we've been to Windibank's. So, I guess... Oh, wait a minute. Windibank died the last. His corpse could be with the corpse guy. I want to go look at that first. Sir Jasper Meek. Before Sir Jasper became one of London's greatest medical examiners, he was a superb general practitioner. He now works at St. Bartholomew's Hospital. I will always be grateful to Watson for summoning Dr. Meek to my side when I lay ill. A migraine sidelines the great detective. While he soothes himself, Holmes sends Watson to discuss the murders with a medical examiner, hoping for more evidence to support his growing hypothesis.
Beg your pardon, but could I have a word with you, Sir Jasper?
Dr. Watson, of course. Are you investigating the death of Samuel Sneed? I just finished with him.
No, we're interested in James Windibank.
Ah, the mummy's latest victim, of course. Who hired Holmes for this one? King Tut?
Oh, that's a jolly good one. Actually, we don't have a client on this one.
Just for fun, eh? Well, about the only thing I can tell you is that mummy has very powerful hands.
What do you mean?
The trachea was crushed along with one of the vertebrae of the neck. Death was instantaneous. Snap.
But the paper's reports say that there were mummy wrappings found round the neck.
Just window dressing. Without question, it was bare hands. The bruises and the way that the vertebrae was crushed leave no doubt about that.
Thank you very much for your time, Sir Jasper. We're very much appreciative.
Not at all, Watson. You will let me know when you've convicted the mummy.
Beg your pardon?
Well, so I can perform an autopsy on him. Would be most fascinating, don't you think?
Okay, well, we know that strangled strong bare hands. So it sounds like it's someone who's a bit muscular, I guess. We've been to the London University College. So yeah, oh yeah, Windibank. He was the one who died on the ship, Weatherby, I mean. So we go we can go to his house, and then also talk to, or maybe we should talk to actually the captain first, before we go to his widow, so we have as much info as possible. Let's see, Herman Ramsey. So Ramsey. Actually, that Sir Jasper dude looks like one of my lecturers at the university. It's really weird. It's really weird. Ramsey. There we go. Captain of the Eastern Empress. Right? I don't think we need any regulars. After perusing the Times, Holmes is convinced Mr. Ramsey has information valuable to the case. He gathers his coat and hat and catches a carriage to the home of the man.
We had just come through a rather grueling storm, so I sent my first officer, Luther Tenney, down into the hold to check on the condition of the cargo. He reported back post-haste that Mr. Weatherby was lying dead among the Egyptian artifacts we were transporting. I turned over the helm to Tenney and went below to have a look for myself.
And did what you see confirm Teddy's report?
Unfortunately, yes. Weatherby was lying next to that coffin, or whatever it's called, apparently strangled. I went back to the bridge and put Tenny in charge of the investigation.
And what did he uncover?
Well, you'll have to ask him for the specifics, because I can scarcely recall the details.
Okay, well, I guess from that we basically got information that that we need to talk to Tenny. Okay, Luther Tenny. Tenny. There we go. Nothing on file. Watson hails a handsome cab, and Holmes follows his friend. On their way to Tenny's address, Holmes shares his thoughts with the good doctor on the case thus far.
Let me tell you, a murder, even by a 4,000-year-old mummy, was only one odd thing in a string of bad luck on this voyage.
What sort of bad luck?
It all started with the crew, really. Seamen are a rather superstitious lot to begin with, and the idea carrying about a 4,000-year-old mummy had them shivering in their timbers. We almost faced a bloody mutiny. Then there were the passengers, a strange lot. I can tell you that reporter fellow, Travis, did us no service at all with his mystic mumbo-jumbo. He and Professor Winterbank had a regular war of words going on about whatever powers this mummy was supposed to have. And there was the two Arabs.
Arabs? Interesting. Do you recall their names?
I should hope I do. One was called Fahmy. He always carried around this curious little box. No clue what was in it, but Fahmy never let it out of his sight. The other one's name was Al-Sad, and he spent most of his time lurking about watching Fahmy. My guess is he wanted that box.
Sounds like you had your hands full.
I haven't even told you about the fight yet between Mr. Weatherby and Mr. Urubaru.
Over what?
Weatherby's wife, I'd say, though they were a tight-lipped lot about it.
I see. Tell me, Lieutenant, we understand that you were the first person to discover the body.
Yes, sir, I was. Captain Ramsey sent me down to inspect the hold. And I went immediately over to them Egyptian crates. Professor Winterbank was particularly anxious about him, you know.
Could you describe the scene as you remember it?
I'll never forget it. I just made my way to the back of the hold, and I noticed at the top of them crates, the one what carried the mummy's coffin was raised up kind of funny like. The coffin lid was laid off to one side, and there was Mr. Weatherby all sprawled on the floor next to a bowl of ashes. He'd been strangled by a length of the mummy's sheeting. Bloody gruesome, I tell you. Poor bloke's eyes popped out like a couple of sausages on a hot iron skillet.
Quite a vivid picture, don't you agree, Holmes?
Quite. And you reported this to Captain Ramsey straight away?
Absolutely. In fact, the captain put me in charge of the entire investigation.
And what did you discover? Did anybody have any contact with Weatherby on the night of the murder?
Not that I know of. I could account for all the crew. The passengers were in their cabins as far as anyone knew or would say. Nobody saw anything, heard anything, or knew anything. Besides, Weatherby was seasick from the beginning. He stayed pretty much in his cabin all the time. Maybe that's why the lovely young Mrs. Weatherby was gallivanting about.
With Uruburu?
Yes, indeed.
And what of the bowl? Where is it now?
The bowl?
With the ashes.
Oh, yes. You know, now that you mention it, I don't recall ever seeing it again.
Alright, so Mr. Tenny had a lot of info, and he talked about some journalist called Travis. Can that be Philip Travis? Whoa, okay, that voyage was full of people. We need to investigate all of these peeps. Alright. I don't know who should we start with? I mean, this Mr. Uruburu guy seems interesting. And, of course, Philip Travis. Definitely interesting. Or should we talk to Weatherby's, well, widow? What does she have to say about Mr. Uruburu? I don't know. Maybe we should go... oh, I don't know where to go first. Oh, we have so many people. Ah, here's Peter Smith, though. And he went on something else. I don't know, it feels like Peter Smith might not be, like... He went on another expedition, like... Definitely Philip Travis. Wait, we've been to Luther Tenney. Definitely Philip Travis and Uruburu, and... Well... Yeah, these... Arabs, too, could be interesting looking up. Okay, whatever. Let's go to Uruburu, because... Whatever. Anthony Uruburu. Nothing on file. Send an irregular. Uruburu. You are you, be you are you. Watson says over and over to the irregulars. After 5 minutes, he gives up and simply says, "Please talk with Mr. Yu about these mummy murders." This guy came to the door, but could barely stand. He sure smelled of whiskey, did. Oh, and apparently he was on that ship where that guy died. Cool. Some detectives. The good doctor receives a telegram summoning him to the home of one of his patients. Holmes hails a carriage and proceeds to Mr. Uruburu's home in hope of a clue or two.
If this is an inconvenient time, perhaps I could come back, Mr. Uruburu.
Wouldn't hear of it. Just a bit of a hangover. I've weathered plenty worse than this.
I'm investigating the death of Andrew Weatherby. You were on the ship with him out of Cairo. Did you happen to make his acquaintance?
Weatherby, a most tedious fellow.
So tedious, one might want to do him in.
Don't be preposterous. In my condition, I couldn't have done anything of the sort.
What condition was that?
And I thought you were a great detective. The first night out, a few of us threw a bit of a bash that went on until we docked in London.
Did Mrs. Weatherby attend this particular bash?
She was the guest of honor, you might say.
Whoa. We should probably talk to Mrs. Weatherby. There, Andrew Weatherby, right? Yeah. Nothing on file for Andrew Clarissa. Send an irregular just for fun. After an exhaustive search through the London Times, Holmes decides to send two of the most responsible of the boys to the Weatherby's house, Telly and Pepys. We talked to a lovely lady. She offered us some treats, but could barely open the tin. Weatherby? Watson asks as Holmes reaches for his deerstalker hat. The great detective reminds the good doctor of the articles in the paper and the unfortunate demise of Andrew Weatherby.
I'm very sorry to intrude on you in your moment of grief.
Oh, that's quite all right. You know, Andrew and I haven't been married very long.
Long enough to know if he had any enemies?
Oh, Andrew was so unassuming. Everyone liked him.
Including Mr. Uruburu?
I really loved my husband.
I'm sure you did. Oh, English toffee. My favorite.
Would you like one?
Please.
Sorry. You'll have to open this yourself. I've never been any good with these things.
I'm not exactly sure what that means. I guess it means that she's not very strong, so she hasn't strangled people lately. Maybe. Alright, we've been to Mr. Uruburu, and I don't know how long we should make this episode, but... maybe we should go look at this Travis guy. Watson asks two of the most trusted lads to follow up on an important lead. He sends them to the home of Philip Travis, a sometimes contributor to the Times. The shutters were drawn tight. Heard some weird chanting, I think I did. Oh. Right, Holmes decides to travel to Mr. Travis's home alone, leaving Watson the company of Mrs. Hudson and her apple cranberry cakes.
So you've been reading my articles in the Times. I'm honored. What do you think of them?
Quite interesting. You've clearly been following the murders quite closely. Who do you suspect?
I believe it is the work of the ancient Egyptian god Pumatef and his goddess Neith.
Be serious.
I couldn't be more serious. You see, Mr. Holmes, although I am a journalist, I was actually trained as an Egyptologist. I know all about these mysteries. That's why my articles carry the force of truth.
And what is the truth, Mr. Travis?
The truth is that the Egyptians discovered the secret of life. What we call science is mere child's play compared to the knowledge they had. Look at this. Do you know what this is?
It appears to be a mummified animal of some sort. A monkey, perhaps?
Precisely.
Write a conversation piece.
I've been using it in some very important experiments which, if successful, will unlock the secret for bringing back the souls of the dead. I've been working on it, Mr. Holmes, using these tanner leaves. Watch. Uma Lotus. Licantina. Burura.
It appears that the soul of this particular monkey has no intention of making a reappearance.
It's only a matter of time. I know it is. After all, these secrets have been buried for thousands of years. These things don't happen overnight. But it will happen someday. This is my mission.
I believe I'll leave you to your work, Mr. Travis.
Don't go yet. Let me show you more.
Thank you. Some other time, perhaps.
That's interesting, cause he was burning tanner leaves. Could that be the bowl with ashes that was on the ship? Could that be the bowl of ashes? A bowl of ashes on ship. Travis. Tanner leaves. Oh, you don't even want to see my handwriting right now. I'm just writing half of the letters. Well, we've been to Philip Travis. I don't know if these have any bearing on anything. Well, I guess we could go to Fahmy and Al Swad. Fahmy. Akram Fahmy. Native of Saudi Arabia, intensely interested in medieval artifacts, particularly of the precious nature. Holmes passed on notes to Mrs. Hudson to deliver to the irregulars. It contains the address of Akram Fahmy and warns the boys to be diligent but careful. Nobody was home, but I smelled a rat. Which is probably not good. A mist seems to rise from the Thames as the men cross a bridge on their way to meet with Akram Fahmy, a handler of historical relics.
Hello? Is anyone there? Mr. Fahmy, are you at home?
Apparently so, Watson. Look.
Oh, what ghastly business. Everyone will assume the mummy has struck again.
Hardly a plausible assumption. This poor fellow has a knife in his back and not a scrap of sheeting about his neck.
How very observant, Holmes.
Ring up Scotland Yard. This case is simple enough for them to solve.
You've solved it already.
Elementary, my dear Watson. Obviously, it was the butler.
Butler? What butler?
Exactly my point. A man as wealthy as Akram Fahmy would always have a manservant about him. After the foul deed, this one obviously beat a hasty retreat.
Oh. So Fahmy's dead. Could be unrelated. I don't know if we can find this Al-Swad guy. Al-Swad? Abdullah, maybe? Nothing in file. Holmes has to pronounce Mr. Al-Swad's name half a dozen times before the irregulars understood and are sent on their way. Sorry, Gov, no one's at home. You can always send detectives. Holmes knows nothing of Al-Swad and is eager to accompany Watson to his home. Perhaps the gentleman could be of service to them.
Well, Holmes, I checked in with Mr. Al-Sad's manservant and...
And you discovered that Mr. Al-Sad was not at home.
But however did you know that?
Elementary, my dear Watson. I noticed some crumpet crumbs from the corner bakery stuck to your lapel. You haven't been gone long enough to stop for tea and interview anyone at length.
Most observant, sir.
yeah, no, okay. Wasn't at home. I don't know what we do then. Maybe Fahmy's unconnected. I don't know what more we can do. I don't know if going back to Lestrade will, like... Although talking with Lestrade is often tedious.
Well.
Oh, no, yeah, he's just gonna say the same thing. Cool. I don't know if we can go to... What was Somerset House? Somerset House, located on the south side of the Strand, is 17 WC. The office of the Registrar General of Births, Marriages, Deaths, and Probate Registry are located here. It also houses the Commons Will Office. The records are open to the public. Who's this? Head clerk at the Office of Records. He has a phenomenal memory when it comes to any legal records pertaining to the last 30 years. Okay. Who's this? Or Scotland Yard. No, reports on crime for the Police Gazette. Alright, I'm not sure what we can do now. Like, I'm not sure if we have, like, enough... Yeah, okay. Let's look at all the bazillion points I have now. Yep. Yep. 300 maybe? I guess. Ah, 205 actually. Okay, what do we have notes here? I mean, really? Right now, it does seem like it's Travis, really. I would say. I mean... Visited Abdullah al-Swad, 20 points. Yeah, probably because it was completely unnecessary. Ah, here, 5 points. Okay, so I'm presuming the things you get 5 points for are the things that are most, like, or, well, 5 and 10 are, like, important stuff. Holmes talks to Philip Travis. Believes Egyptians gods killed the Englishmen. Much to Holmes' chagrin, the man attempts to raise the spirit of a monkey. Right. Okay. Interesting. Well, we will take a break here and we'll, you know, decide what to do in the next episode, if there's any more info we can gather, and or if we should go to the judge and try to solve the case, and stuff. So yeah. Anyways, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see ya.